Despite his immense wealth, he consumed large quantities of rice. At 30, he weighed 600 pounds. He had to eat a fresh Oreo every day to save 300 million yuan for weight loss. He killed civilians to get more Oreos and experience short-term happiness and the pleasure of flying. In order to encourage his own son to die, the Baron also sent the Devil's Kiss. The Baron's empire was impregnable, and the army was well-trained and well-equipped. If he makes progress, his people will support him. However, recent frequent wars and attacks by unknown forces directly threaten his rule. Ancient creatures in the legend are awakening. The Desert Lord is not just large, but also very deadly. He can control rivers, seas, and lightning. The desert people worship him as a god, but their gods serve as mounts for the sandworm riders. Sandworm controllers have undergone a life and death test. In Brother Kun's story, the Baron dispatched fighter planes that surrounded and subdued the enemy, but their attack power was weak. The unlucky ones were directly destroyed and killed. This was the first direct confrontation of the rebels. Facing the well-equipped Imperial army, they were more like a group of poor natives. Brave losers could catch up with the ferry and become part of the Dongyang Empire. Sandworms hit the building, causing it to collapse. The supreme underworld is under the most severe attack in history. The nobles in the city were so scared that they looked at each other. The knights were ready to die. The Baron lay on the ground, looking at the 10-meter throne. He tried to crawl over, but his body was out of control. The palace gate was sealed, and soldiers went to check. The result was that they were all meat buns hitting dogs. They left and never returned. At that moment, the masked youth walked slowly with a cleaver in hand. Strangely, the soldiers did not stop him but let him walk towards the Baron. The Baron realized that he was in great trouble and his face turned uglier than shit. With the death of the Baron, the army was leaderless. In addition, the army had been defeated after a day and a night of fighting. It didn't take long for the rebels to gain the upper hand. The army was defeated. His men surrendered. The Baron's dark rule vanished with the fire. The Baron's son was unconvinced and had to duel to the death with his little cousin. One was the Harkonnen heir and the other was the evil Tweety heir. A thrilling killing began under the crowd's gaze. Two skilled men fought evenly for a while, creating a touching scene. Each punch landed and every knife drew blood. Ultimately, Paul was stabbed in the kidney by his cousin. In fact, he didn't need to take such a risk. Everyone kept silent, but in the end, his cousin went to the northwest with the Baron. Paul's courage also won the applause of the whole audience. Even the former king shook his hand and surrendered in front of him. Paul spared the murderer of his father, knowing the significance of his actions. He overcame hardships to overthrow the empire, witnessed by everyone present. Next, he had to complete the epic task of taming a sandworm for himself. He took out his hook and walked along the path that the sandworm had to pass. The slight vibration of the ground with the huge sandworm could instantly sense the direction of the prey. Paul accelerated to chase him at a speed of 100 meters. In the end, he was in the sandworm. He jumped onto Paul's body before disappearing. He hooked the sandworm's shell with a hook and controlled the sandworm's movement by flipping the shell, just like cooking vegetables. To protect the tender meat under the shell from being corroded by the yellow sand, the sandworm had to move forward frantically to Paul's feet. It seemed like an easy operation, but if he failed, he would be doomed and become the nutrition of the sandworm. But in the end, he succeeded. It seems that to become the new king, you must have a magic weapon. The priest kept slapping the sand. The huge vibration attracted a young sandworm. The priest grabbed the worm's neck and peeked into the head. After confirming something, he walked slowly to the clearest water source in the desert, the holy pool. The purest blue can only be extracted this way. The tear priest pinched the larva's head and poured water into it to kill the young sandworm. After a few seconds, the larva stopped twisting. The priest inserted a 10-meter long tube into it. The blue tears that can predict the future were extracted and taken to Paul. Paul drank it silently and gained superpowers, allowing him to see the deceased from the past, including his ex-girlfriend who had passed away many years ago. Paul, armed with two magical weapons, is unrivaled in the world. He uses his wisdom and courage to safeguard the planet's prosperity and peace.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.